What's your favorite webcomic? I'd say Gunnerkrigg Court. I love the sci-fi versus fantasy kind of conflict. The characters are great, and the art evolves so nicely. Also, is pretty active compared to most webcomic subreddits. A good runner-up is Dumbing of Age. The author has a huge amount of experience with comics, which shows in how much he's planned out every day in universe as a chapter. Barring the occasional time skip of a few days, the humor and characters are wonderful. Even though she's done with it, I've always loved Hark! A Vagrant, by Kate Beaton. Jokes about history and literature. Very irreverent. Always gets a laugh out of me. One that's still going strong is Nothing Special, by Katie Cook on Webtoon. I think she describes it as a yuck comic, but I still enjoy it even though I'm in my late 30s. Modern fantasy featuring a young woman who can see the spirits of dead plants and is constantly followed by the ghost of a radish. It gets weirder. Currently on season 3. And yes, I still read questionable content like everyone else. Edit. QC. Was already one of the top answers when I wrote this. Just expanding the title since people keep asking. The Perry Bible Fellowship. A ton of these still make me laugh out loud even though I've seen them many times before. PBF Comics. Edit. Here is an example of one of my favorites in case you can't see the comments underneath this. https. PBF Comics. Comics Shop Class. This thread would be much more interesting if more people explained a bit about the comic and why they like it so much. If you're not reading Pascal Lepis's Wild Life, you absolutely should be. It's about a writer named Oscar Wilde, no relation, who moves from Chicago to a small town called Podink in Oklahoma where supernatural things abound. The artwork is stellar. The characters are great, and there's a creeping sense of unease that runs through it without being overpowering, which, given that it's ostensibly a horror comic, is wonderfully balanced. Definitely give it a look. Edit. While we're on the topic, and because this seems to be taking off, I also highly recommend pretty much anything by John Allison. Bobbins, Giant Days, Bad Machinery, Steeple. They're all great. I've been reading about the inhabitants of Tackleford since I was about 16 or so, and there's this wonderfully rich world that's been built up over literally decades of storytelling. If you want a quick and easy way to dive in, I'd recommend Bad Machinery, which is about two competing groups of young mystery solvers at a grammar school in Yorkshire. It's sort of like the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew crossed with Scooby-Doo, except British and much more focused on the transition from your first day at big school to the cusp of young adulthood. It ran for 8 years. And the story of one of the young detectives is currently continuing in a print comic called Wicked Things, which is only 2 episodes in but is also a delight. That said, if you read one series you're likely to find crossovers with others, with characters popping up all over the place. The exception is Steeple, which ran for 5 print comic issues and is now a webcomic. That's the story of a young curate in the Church of England and an acolyte in the local branch of the Church of Satan who become friends in a mostly sleepy but also beset by sea monsters town on the south coast of England. The webcomic is great, but the print issues have a bit of a twist in them, and so I'd recommend finding a way to read those first before you jump in. Lackadaisy Cats. Prohibition-era cats try to run a speakeasy after its original owner died under mysterious circumstances. It's old as dirt. Absolutely gorgeous. And I'm here for the occasional bits of 1920s trivia. Like how to start a car. Unsounded. It has gorgeous art, a compelling story, a rich world, and one of the coolest magic systems I've ever seen. Seriously, there's no way I can really do it justice by describing it. Just go fucking read it. The series starts off with a powerful spellcasting zombie escorting a crime lord's daughter to another country to collect a debt from another member of the family. But it quickly goes balls to the wall with all sorts of interesting shit. Plus it's got a huge bird with tits. Hyperbole and a half will always have a special place in my heart. IDK how Ali Brosh and I somehow were the exact same brand of weird and feral as children, but we were. Gone with the Blastwave. Love this comic series. The art can be really beautiful, but I really just enjoy the whole vibe it brings. If you ever watched and enjoyed the web series Red vs. Blue, then this is definitely for you. Darths and Droids. The Star Wars saga reimagined as an ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign. Told almost entirely with screen caps. If you're a fan of either franchise you'll love it. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Anonymous Benefactor. Gourmet Hound. It's complete and I just re-binged the whole thing. Not sure it counts, but I love Pixie and Brutus comics. I don't know why. They just always entertain me. Ava's Demon. Really underrated. I was really surprised I found it not so long ago. Avastamin. Calm. I really like Webtoon. I really like Cursed Princess Club and True Beauty because they focus on issues with women accepting their appearance. I struggle to like the way I look, and I really like how the characters learn to overcome these feelings. Which I hope I can. Let's Play is also quite good cause it focuses on mental health like depression and anxiety and people dealing with those issues. The storyline is great too. Here's my little list I have saved. 1. Tower of God. Epic fantasy. 9/10. Really brilliant world building. Large cast of characters. 2. Love advice from the Great Duke of Hell. Comedy. 10 out of 10. Hilarious deadpan faces. Insane me _IRL material. 3. Sweet Home. Horror. 9/10. Great art. Brilliant concept. 4. Bastard. Thriller. 10 out of 10. Engaging and unexpected story. Very dark. 5. Toaster Dude. Comedy. 10,000 Hilarious relatable humor. Also some pretty nice art. 6. Unordinary. Superhero. 7/10. Very interesting 4-dimensional story that seems to change depending on how you look at it. 7. Hardcore Leveling Warrior. Action. 7/10. Interesting concept. Insanely cool art and great character development. 8. God of High School. Action. 8/10. Awesome fights and art. 9. Lookism. Drama. 6/10. Interesting concept and characters. 10. Everywhere and Nowhere. Fantasy. 8/10. Funny and also somehow informative time travel adventure. 11. Winter Moon. Comedy. 8/10. Interesting characters and cool developments. 12. Seed _ Sci-Fi. 10 out of 10. Awesome concept and drama. 13. Third Shift Society. Fantasy. 7/10. Cool concept and nice art. 14. I'm the Grim Reaper. Thriller. 9/10. Insane art and cool characters. Comedy concept. 15. Alekid. Comedy action. 10 out of 10. Hilarious. Perfect for a cat lover. 16. Days of Hannah. Romance thriller. 9/10. Begins as a pretty cringy romance, but it gets really dark. Also it will make you cry. This shit hits hard. 17. Immortal Weakling. Superhero. 8/10. Cool concept. Clever power scaling and cool protagonist. 18. Waffles and Pancakes. Slice of life. 8/10. Haha relatable and funny college kids go burr. 19. Urban Animal. Action. 9/10. Awesome idea and nice art. Great relatable characters. 20. How to Become a Dragon. Fantasy. 7/10. Awesome MC and good concept. 21. Suicide. Noun. Dark comedy. 10 out of 10. Holy shit WTF just read it. 22. Scoob. In. Shag. Comedy horror. 7/10. Hilarious for about 15 chapters, and then it gets dark. Fast. 23. A Good Day to Be a Dog. Drama. 9/10. Brilliant concept. Very nice romance. Fuck. I gotta get out more. Still incomplete. 2. Aurora. A fantasy webcomic by Red of Overly Sarcastic Productions fame. Aurora is an epic with elements of high fantasy literature, shonen anime, and Western cartoons. The story is still in early stages. But the characters are interesting, there's a ton of lore. And Red's art is excellent. It updates every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Other webcomics I love that have already been mentioned elsewhere in the thread. XKCD. The quintessential stick figure comedy webcomic with tons of geek humor. Order of the Stick. A D&D parody fantasy comedy that manages to be both hilarious and incredibly rich in storytelling and character. JL8. A comedy reimagining of the Justice League as a group of 8-year-olds that somehow manages to be the most faithful adaptations of these characters I have ever seen. Poorly drawn lines. Another comedy webcomic that leans heavily into abstract, surreal, and offbeat humor. Kill 6 billion demons. I've only just started this one, but it's super rich in worldbuilding and has fascinating characters. Fantasy action horror about a girl who gets sucked into hell. Steve Lichtman. A black comedy that stars a cast of deadbeat versions of classic D&D monsters. Irma. Imagine if Calvin and Hobbes starred an 8-year-old Samara from The Ring. Read a lot of webcomics. Order of the Stick. Stand Still. Stay Silent by Minna Sundberg. Oglyph. All Hail Sithrock. Castle Swimmer. It's a compelling story set under the ocean with a bunch of different species of mer creatures. They all have prophecies they are waiting to be fulfilled, and the one to fulfill all of them is called the Beacon. The shark merpeople are prophesied to kill the Beacon, but the prince set to do it ends up falling in love with the Beacon before he has the chance. This is all set in the first few pages. I won't get into spoiler territory. But it's incredible and definitely worth the read. And it's got LGBT+ representation integrated in such a seamless way. It's exactly how media should be done. Kill 6 billion demons. Edit. First of all, the artwork is gorgeous. The author will occasionally do these huge mega detailed splash pages that you can get lost in. Example. The universe is rich with an extensive unique lore that fuses a lot of different mythologies together. Also, maybe most important is that Abaddon, author, releases pages pretty regularly. Too many good webcomics have either been abandoned or have a sporadic release schedule.